Good evening, everybody. All humans share something in common, and it's that we all love to laugh. In fact, it's programmed in our brains for us to enjoy laughing, and that's why comedy and the occupation of comedian had emerged in the first place. Now, as you all probably know, a comedian's a person who makes people laugh. And it's really interesting how the comedian actually achieves this goal of making people laugh. Because there's so many different ways, so many different styles, techniques, and methods of achieving this goal, of triggering laughter. But there's one dominant tool that the majority of comedians in the world use. Now, with the exception of Rowan Atkinson's character, Mr. Bean, the majority of comedians use words as their tools to make people laugh through their jokes or funny stories. And in a perfect world, everything goes great. The comedian's able to express all of his ideas through his jokes and stories with any word he wants to, or she wants to. And the audience who listens enjoys listening and laughs as a result. Everyone wins. But then there are these people who have the power to decide what words comedians can and cannot use. These people who have the power to decide what words are heard and unheard, what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And they decide all of this for all of you on their own behalf. These people censor out certain words that they hear in the media, just words that they don't like, and words that are deemed as bad in society. Even if these words are used humorously in a comedian's routine as a joke, they still take it seriously and take it off the air. The FCC is just one of many examples of these types of organizations. They will hunt down every time one of these words have occurred in the media, and they will take it down and censor it. I'm sure you've all heard that before. But anyways, with that in mind, truly, the only lucky audience of a comedian has got to be the live audience. You know, other than being, watching TV at home, or like watching a comedian on DVD uncensored, the live audience gets to see the comedian 3D in person, rather than being on a plasma screen TV 2D screen. But what's more important is that they hear every single word that the comedian says, uncensored, unchanged, unaltered. They get to hear the version of the routine just as the comedian had wanted them to hear it. And like I mentioned, there's also people who watch uncensored comedy routines on DVD or YouTube, like myself. But what about people who watch censored comedy routines on television? What about people who listen to censored comedy routines on the radio? They're being exposed to a fake, changed, and altered version of the comedian's routine, the version that the comedian had never intended for them to listen to. With that being in mind, it's actually really fascinating how much effort it takes to make a successful comedian's comedy routine. Not just the diction, but everything, basically the jokes, the story. The comedian has to master this through years and years of practicing and studying comedy. So I'd say that comedy is actually a valid art. With that being said, imagine if you went up to this painter right here, Bob Ross. Imagine if you went up to Bob Ross, went up to him, took away his paintbrush, and told him to paint the same exact painting without the paintbrush that you just took from him. Imagine his reaction. Well, if I were him, I think I'd be pretty angry. What you're doing for me is you're taking a tool away from me that I use to perform a certain job. I mean, whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're not supposed to do that. That's my tool. And that's the same relationship comedians have with their words. To take away the words of a comedian is like taking away one of the most important things in a comedian's life. To take away that ability is literally so insulting. It's insulting to every single one of these people who've practiced for hours and hours and have written their routines for so long and have actually mastered the art of comedy over years and years of training. In fact, sometimes when comedy is censored, you won't even know what the comedian's talking about anymore. Because some of the words that comedians use that are censored are actually key words that are being censored. Please, let me show you what I mean.
Is indecent, profane, obscene, blue, off-color, risque, suggestive, cursing, cussing, swearing, and all I could think of was shit.
That was George Carlin, one of my favorite comedians, and his list of the 7 most filthiest words he can think of. Did you hear the audience laugh? Yeah, apparently they heard something really funny. None of you laughed. None of you laughed. Because instead of hearing something meaningful that George Carlin had to say, all you guys heard was a 1,000 hertz sound wave that probably just hurted your ears. It was pretty loud. It hurted mine too. You know? And with this, you can't even judge whether it's funny or not. You didn't get to hear the entire routine. So basically, your sense of humor doesn't even apply here. It didn't even have an opportunity to decide whether this was truly funny or not. And this is this is one of the routines that I'd like to call cripple routines. Because, like me, I'm a cripple. Being a cripple myself, I'm not able to do things that I normally can do. I can't even stand up and give this TED Talk properly. I can't even walk without my crutches properly. Look pretty silly, right? And that's the same thing that happens with a comedian's routine. Once it's censored, it's not the same anymore. Censorship in comedy does not make society a better place. I don't know why people think of it that way, honestly, because all that it does is that it gives new audiences bad first impressions of the comedian. It makes old audiences annoyed, knowing that comedians that are so great and so talented and can really make people laugh are being censored and not able to show their full potential to an audience. And most of all, it hurts the comedian. It hurts the comedian who's invested hundreds and hundreds of hours practicing public speaking. He or she has spent hundreds and hundreds of hours writing out comedy material, spent so many years practicing public speaking and mastering the art of comedy. It's insulting to even censor these words. Because of that, I think that the censorship of comedy, I think that the belief that censorship of comedy, which makes society better, is totally contradictory. What? You're going to make the world a better place if less people laugh? No, don't think it works that way. Because when comedy is censored, it's just nobody wins. There is no winner. There are no winners at all, and there's only left with losers. The efforts of the comedians are being thrown away, just indifferently, and the audience are being deprived of laughter. But most importantly, the art of comedy is being degraded. So, please, don't be that broadcasting executives who decide to censor certain words in a joke just because they're seen outside as something that's bad for you to say. They're using it humorously to make people laugh. Please, don't be that politician or lawmaker or whatever who makes laws about what words can and cannot be used and what words can or cannot be heard in the media if it's in a joke. And most importantly, please remember this from this TED Talk. Please, don't be that person who allows yourself to stoop so low as to be insulted by a word just because of its meaning without even considering what context it's used in, especially if it's used in a joke. So please, be reasonable, be rational, and have a sense of humor. Just understand that words are nothing without the context that they're used in, and that at the end of the day, a joke is simply just what it is, a joke. Thank you.